Today I bring you a particularly interesting fan theory, one that I only recently delved into, that draws from information from both the main book series and from Fire and Blood. It's a theory that you may only pick up on if you reread the main books after having read Fire and Blood. Should Alicent Hightower, the second wife of King Jaehaerys I and mother to King Aegon II, one of the key players in the Dance of the Dragons, have traditional Valyrian features, most notably their silver hair. Now, like myself, when you first hear this idea, you might dismiss it very quickly for two key reasons. At first, I assumed that her appearance must have been described at some point in Fire and Blood in order to inform the art of her in the book. However, when I checked this, to my surprise, nowhere in Fire and Blood does it actually state her hair colour or really much about what she looked like at all. This led me to questioning the official art we do have of Alicent. The art included in books such as The World of Ice and Fire, Fire and Blood, and The Rise of the Dragon, which has always consistently portrayed Alicent as having dark hair. Art you would assume George R.R. Martin had some kind of hand in, or perhaps signed off on. When you then consider how Alicent is portrayed in House of the Dragon, another project that George R.R. Martin has a hand in, it seems like an open and shut case. But the lack of description of her hair and general look did leave the door open somewhat for this theory. But then, while I was looking through the art featured in Fire and Blood, something jumped out at me that really made me start to question how much we should take the art in these books as canon, and really how much involvement George even has in this art. I was looking at the art depicting the reunion between King Aegon III and Prince Viserys. In it, Alan Valyrian is shown having dark hair when we know for sure he had the hair of old Valyria. Looking into this further on Reddit, I found someone else who had stumbled across this very issue, and they also pointed out that the depiction of Morado Roger in the art in Fire and Blood that directly contradicts his stated character description. So what we can take away from this is we should not take art, even official art, at face value. However, one thing I feel should be pointed out, that in more recent art from The Rise of the Dragon, both Alan and Morado are shown with their correct hair colour, while Alicent is still consistently being shown as dark-haired. But there are some errors that have been spotted in the art from Rise of the Dragon, such as good Queen Alicent Targaryen being shown having a traditional Targaryen look rather than her normal blonde hair and blue eyes. Again, showing us not to take the art at face value. But this idea goes much deeper than art, that may or may not be canon. In fact, the books present three key bits of evidence in favour of this theory somewhat. When I first heard this idea, straight away my mind jumped to a passage in Fire and Blood. During the last days of his life, the 16-year-old Alicent Hightower acts as King Jaehaerys Targaryen's carer, feeding him his meals, reading to him, and so on. Fire and Blood states that the elderly Jaehaerys would often get Alicent confused with his long-lost daughter, Princess Sarah. It is argued that for Jaehaerys to confuse Alicent with Sarah, Alicent must have borne some resemblance to her. While it could be argued that her facial features could be similar to Sarah, a much more obvious answer could be that Alicent had the silver hair of old Valyria. Again, I think it's fair to recall that at this point Jaehaerys is not really all there, showing some signs of age-related cognitive decline. I've also seen some suggestions that Alicent having silver hair rather than dark hair is supported by the fact that all four of her children had the traditional Targaryen look, with Alicent having dark hair creating the likely possibility that some of her children should have inherited that hair colour. I'm not an expert in genetics and the way it works, and especially the way it works in George's writing does not wholly mimic the real world, and is more often than not just used as a plot device. So I can't really comment on how this really fits into this wider theory, but this is more than just a Fire and Blood theory. There is a fair bit of information in the main book series that may point to some truth to this idea. Firstly, Mace Tyrell's wife, and the mother of the likes of Marjorie Tyrell, is a member of House Hightower. Alicent Hightower is described in A Storm of Swords as tall, dignified, and handsome, with long silver hair. Could her hair be Valyrian? Maybe, but the silver could very well be another way of saying her hair has greyed with age. If this was an isolated description, it could be very easily dismissed. But there is another prime example with even more evidence that may suggest that members of House Hightower do bear some Valyrian traits. During A Storm of Swords, Catelyn 5, Lady Mage Mormont and her heir, Daisy, describes the wife of the former Lord of Bear Island, Jorah Mormont, Lyonesse Hightower, as beautiful, with golden hair, skin the colour of cream, and soft hands. On its own, it could be implied as blonde rather than a Valyrian-style hair colour. But in A Clash of Kings, Daenerys won. When telling Daenerys about his ill-fated relationship with his former wife, Jorah tells Daenerys that Lenise looked a bit like her. Again, this is a vague description and open to interpretation, but there is a lot of speculation online, dating back years, that this would refer to one of Daenerys' defining features, such as her silver Targaryen hair. In combination with the description of Valyria, there are some fans who have come to the conclusion the House Hightower could have silver Valyrian hair. But another idea to consider is there isn't any clear indication where the silver hair could have come from House Hightower. One idea I had is we know that Rhaena Targaryen, the daughter of Daemon and Laena Velaryon, does marry into the Hightower family. However, given the end of the Dance of the Dragons, the branch of the family she marries into would be distinctly different from Alicent's. Therefore, it could potentially be possible that if the Hightowers do have Valyrian hair, it could potentially have come from Rhaena. But there are many fan theories out there that suggest that the Valyrian look of House Hightower dates back much, much further. These ideas would need whole videos in themselves to delve into, but there is possibility that the silver hair trait came after Alicent, in a different branch of the family. It really depends what theories you personally believe. But here's the thing, when you combine the idea of House Hightower having Valyrian features with Jaehaerys confusing Alicent for Serra, then you can start to see why some fans have come to the realization that Alicent might have had silver Valyrian hair. I do find this theory quite interesting, and a lot of the elements of it do fit together well, and help resolve some of the stranger moments in Fire and Blood, such as the Alicent-Serra confusion from Jaehaerys. But the issue is, the key bits of evidence we have to support this theory themselves are very flimsy, and in a way are theories themselves with no firm confirmation and open to interpretation, such as the comparison to Lenise and Daenerys. While we know that even the official art cannot be wholly trusted, Alicent is consistently shown with dark hair, even in recent art from Rise of the Dragon. Plus, casting of Alicent in House of the Dragon showed Alicent having dark hair. Is there evidence for this theory? Yes. Is it plausible? Yes. But the ground is built on is far from firm and requires a lot of assumptions and stretching of evidence. In reality, it's one of these theories of little true consequence to the bigger picture, but it's fun to play around with. And while maybe at some point in the future we may get new art, or some sort of official character description, or generally more evidence for it, for now this is all we really have to work with. And while you could say there is some strong evidence, at the same time there is also a lot of evidence that points the other way. So what I want to know is what you guys think. Have you heard of this fan theory before? Do you think this theory is just pure tinfoil, or is there something there? Is there any proof that I've overlooked or missed? Let's have a discussion in the comments.